So, modern classic time on Lloyd Tries Cars this week. We've got the Golf R32. This is a bit of an OG car. I mean, they had the VR6 and all those cars back in the day. Volkswagen have always had this weird thing of just putting massive engines in little cars. And this is a 3.2 litre V6, four-wheel drive, Mark 4 Golf. It's kind of the Mark 1s of the four-wheel drive big V6 thing. So we're going to take it out, see what it's like. Fisher Performance again. Great, shout out to them. They've sent me a message, said, do you want to come and have a go in this? Of course I do. I've never driven one. I'll be very interested to see what it's like. You just don't get cars like this with these engines in them anymore. Let's have a closer look. So as you can see, Golf R32, plenty of things to consider. Wider body to accommodate wider things. You've got the R32 badge, obviously. This car's actually a JDM import. This spent most of its life in Japan until recently. It was imported. It's 136,000 kilometers, this car. It's got full Japanese Volkswagen Hiroshima history, which is kind of cool, isn't it? Two exhausts for two banks of cylinders underneath the car. We'll listen to that in a little bit, see how that sounds. I mean, at the end of the day, it is still a Golf with a boot. Oh, look at that. The big old amp in there. That's interesting. So it must have a banging stereo. So got all of that, which is nice. You've still got the rear seats of a Golf, being minded by my backpack. Lovely full interior in these. Really, really nice kind of leather seats in this. Let's have a look. What are these worth these days? So we've got lovely R-line bucket seats. 11,990. That's how much this car is worth these days. Future classic money. When you think about what all the Fords and all the other Japanese stuff are doing, you know, a strange Golf with a big old engine in it. I don't think that's unreasonable value. Taking you around the front. Let's have a little look inside the engine, shall I? Well, inside the engine. Let's have a look in the engine bay. Where's my release? There it is. I found it. It's the other side. We'll just show you what it looks like. So I think there was always a thing with these cars of how, I might turn this down, of how crammed in the engine was. And obviously most Golfs had four-cylinder diesels, turbos, etc., etc. But the R32 was always just a little bit fruity. Oh, goodness gracious! Yeah, you wouldn't. There's not much more room in there for much more engine, is there? So, it's transversely mounted. You've got a gearbox down there on the right hand side of the engine block, so gearbox is at the front, and I think it's because it's a 4-motion setup. I think it's essentially front wheel drive again until it needs it, but a less refined version of a Haldex, let's say. So for all you Golf people out there, you know what that means. No oversteer. Let's see how it goes on the road, shall we? I think it's quite an interesting car. I think it's aged quite well. When I was growing up, I was never a Mark 4 Golf kind of person. I was very much about the French stuff. And the Mark 4 Golf was always kind of the undynamic cousin. But I think they've really kind of started to wink at me a little bit. And I think there's a lot to be said for a nice, refined, nice sounding, good looking, actually, believe it or not, now, I think, modern classic Golf. So let's see how it drives on the road, people. Golf R32, we finally meet. Not a car that I'd ever really lusted after as a kid. It was always one of those kind of, is it a bit fat, is it a bit heavy, is it just not the kind of delicate dish that I like, in that I get, you know, handling from a French car, or the slickness of a Japanese car, or something like that. Is a Golf just a bit not my cup of tea? Well, actually, initial impressions, I'm very pleasantly surprised, and maybe it's because I've grown up, which is what people kind of used to say to me when I was a kid. I was like, oh, I always love French cars, and they're like, just grow up and have a German car. Well, each to their own. But I have to say, as I've gotten older, I've appreciated refinement more, and there's nothing that does refinement in a small package like a Golf. It just is the answer to so many questions, and nothing's changed. This car is just so tight. It's tight as a drum. It really is. It makes me just think, you know, these Germans, they did know how to put a car together. We've got a little bit of brake squeal, which you might be able to pick on it up in the background, but the car's been sat in the showroom for a little bit, so I've just sort of come to give it a bit of a drive out. So we'll have a couple of stops on the brakes and see if that clears up. But yeah, everything's worn really well. The steering wheel just everything feels really solid and well put together. Good positive gear change. The engine sounds so sweet. I mean, it's done 136,000 kilometers, but that's, what's that, about 80,000 miles, something like that. So it's not really done much in the last sort of 20 years. I mean, that's how old this car is now, 20 years old. But yeah, it's about, I think it's about 230 brake, 220, 230 brake from the V6. So it gets along the road well enough, which we'll soon find out. I've only really gone into town so far, but interior's really got nice big buttons. Somebody's fitted some sort of fancy Japanese pop-out Fast and Furious style doubled-in unit, which I'll show you soon. But yeah, all the switch gears, everything. I mean, everything just makes sense in a Golf. Everything's where you want it to be. It all works fine. We're okay with that. Clutch is nice, gear change is nice, take up of power is nice. Sometimes big manual four-wheel drive cars can be a little bit shunty in around town. You've got that drivetrain shunt, but not so with this. Everything's damped really well. Slow speed ride is good. All the touch points feel really solid. If you've ever experienced a Golf, you just know. Everything just feels quality. So yeah, fair play, living up to its name there. But again, let's go and find some better roads and see what this thing's like as a sports car. Right, so here we are on a slightly nicer stretch of road. First chance I've really had to kind of open it up properly. I've got it up to speed and it seems very quiet. It seems very, again, refined is the key word we're probably going to keep coming back to here. But let's just drop it down a cog, lean on that engine a little bit, revs to 6.5, and then chuck it through this little kink. It does go quite well actually. It doesn't, the power doesn't come in a big flurry of camshaft and almost like VTEC-like performance. It's obviously very torquey, this engine. That's where it kind of made its name, this Golf. You can feel the weight of the engine at the front, just affecting the damping at the front end. But again, nothing that I didn't expect, and nothing that anybody that buys this car won't expect either. It is a big heavy V6 slung over the front axles, but it doesn't feel horrible. I mean, it's don't get me wrong, it's not a Lotus Elise. Wasn't expecting it to be. But at speed as well, you know, for a 20-year-old car, it's quiet in here. To be fair to it, it is quiet in here. It's very minimum of fuss getting up the road, this car. So we're just going to start showing it a couple of corners, a bit tighter here, so it doesn't really, it feels very neutral as everybody says. It gets up the road nicely, to be fair. It does feel a little bit on the heavy side. It does feel slightly underdamped. You know, traction just cutting in there as it came through that left hand. I think we were just starting to understeer a little bit, but nothing major. Nothing major, just being careful. And of course, electronic systems were very primitive in this time as well, in the early 2000s. We're only just sort of getting our heads around them, so can't really be too hard on the old girl. But that third gear is where I'm at. Normally I'd take second in most cars here, but I'm third gear here. The traction's quite intrusive, I will say. It is quite intrusive, cutting a bit of power, so we'll have to sack that ESP off. There we go, let's see what that does. I think it thinks I'm going to understeer before I've actually understeered. Down into third, down into second. Let's try and punch it out this slightly. So, okay. So it doesn't really leap up the road. It does quite like to rev, actually, in fairness. I didn't think it would quite as much as this. It does like to rev. The gearbox is nice. It's not the snicketest of snickety gearboxes, but you can put the gears where you want them, and it's all pretty stress-free. So the ratios are quite good, actually. That's one thing I'm really surprised at. The ratios are really nice. It's quite like almost short ratios, very kind of Boxster 911-esque. When I talk about gear ratios in those cars, anybody that's driven a 6-speed Boxster or, say, Cayman or 911 from the 2000s, the kind of 997, 987 category cars, that's when, like, you'll know what I mean. There's just a real nice ratio about that. Like a third to fourth change is a really nice ratio, and you get that with this car, which which is nice. It's quite a soft ride, but again, it's a Golf. This is more of a road car than a race car, so I can forgive it for that. It is nice and soft, in fairness. It is a good, a really well judged ride, but it doesn't make it sporty. It is a soft car, you know. It is what it is. So yeah, let's have another look at that road again and see what it's like with a bit less traction control. What I will say is that what I'm trying to do is find the best in any car. And at the minute, what I'm trying to do with the Golf R32, by chugging it down a country lane and judging it based on its dynamics, is a little bit like judging a black lab in a greyhound race. So I think the thing to do is just drive the car and just enjoy it for what it is, what it offers. Its comfort, its noise, its charm. It's got character, this car. It makes a nice noise, and it's happier when you don't stress it out, just like a Labrador. So if we're going to judge things in dog terms, I think she might be a bit of a black lab, the R32. Just nicely, just steer it through the bends. There we go. Nothing to worry about. Just enjoy the car at 6/10. And do you know what? There's a lot of cars that are like that. They're actually worse the harder you drive them. This is a much better car when you just chill, and you just want to make progress. There you go, over the bump. It's happy. It's just a happy car. It's not bad when you go quick, not bad at all. It's no Civic Type R, it's no Megane 225. All the cars that it was compared up against back in the day. It's just not the same as those cars. It wasn't really designed to be the same, I don't think. It was just designed to be a better road car. Just like a Labrador is just designed to be an all-round better dog. So, I think that's kind of a bit of a... We may have struck a chord here. Maybe touching on something here with the Golf. Interesting. So again, gearbox is nice. It's not like a click-clacky kind of gearbox like you get in a Civic Type R or something, or like a Megane or a Clio, but it's nice. You can find the gears nicely. It's a good car, I have to say. I'm comfortable. The driving position's better than I thought it was going to be. Just a nice little blip on the throttle there. Just listen to that V6. We're not going to chuck it through any bends. Just a little... Oh, sounds good. Just enjoy a little bit of understeer, but there is going to be, isn't there? That kind of car. Down into second. And just drive the car through the bends. Don't lean on it too much. Gearbox is nice. As I say, those ratios are good. I'm enjoying that. I can see why people put exhausts on them, just to bring a bit more noise to the equation, just to kind of max out the character that the car has to offer, which is completely understandable, because why wouldn't you want to make a great engine sound better? It's comfortable through these bends. You're certainly very comfortable. The ride is kind of, it doesn't roll much, but it's kind of bouncy. It's a bit bouncy. It doesn't roll much, but it's comfortable as well. So I can't really blame it for feeling that way. The way that it's been set up by Volkswagen's engineers is to be comfortable day to day. The torque of the engine's nice, with just a little bit of throttle application. Gets through up the road nicely. I don't think you're rewarded better for thrashing it. I just don't. I think, you know, this is like the opposite of a Civic Type R. You've got the Civic Type R that's the whipping greyhound, and this is the Labrador. They're both good at doing their own jobs. They're both equally as lovable, I think. I think an R32 is a good lovable car for different reasons to a Civic Type R. Nice little blast out the back, so I can just hear that. It just wants a little bit more noise, I think. But it just sounds, I just know from outside it's making a good noise. Nice, it's got like a nice V6 rumble from the front, and like a real nice purr coming from the front, and that kind of out the back. I don't know how to describe that noise, but it's like a gargle. It's like a out the back. It's a terrible impression of that noise, I know, but you know what I mean. You just get a nice noise from both ends of this car. It's lovely. Again, just kind of feed it through the bends. It's really, really nice to do so. It doesn't require really any effort at all. Just like most Golfs, you don't need any effort to go quickly in it. Like most cars this age, this modern classic era, it is comfortable enough to live with every day, but it's not massive. You know, it would fit in most car parks quite nicely. Right, let's try this 30 mile an hour to 60 mile an hour test then. Gonna get to 60 before the second tree, let's go. Oh, with ease. With ease. So it's quick. It's quick. It doesn't feel that quick, but it's quick. Fair play, little Golf. Doing alright, you know. Doing alright. Just a nice, expensive feel from that engine. Right, so conclusion. Golf R32, and this is the Mark IV variant of the R32. I'd love to try a Mark V. I think what they would have tried, what the improvements they would have made dynamically would be fantastic. But let's judge the Mark IV. Back in the day when it came out, it was up against the Megane 225, and it was up against Civic Type R, Seat Land Cooper, etc, etc. And they were all a bit more sharp than this. I would much rather, I think nowadays, 20 years later, if I had to live every single day with a car, it would probably be this R32. If I just wanted to go for a blast at a track day, you go Civic Type R or Megane 230, don't you? Those kind of cars are the cars that kind of I grew up with. Especially the same as this Mark IV Golf. I never really wanted a Mark IV Golf R32. I just wanted the fastest of everything. But again, as I've grown up, I've appreciated refinement a lot more. And I have to say, this Golf feels so refined. The gearbox is really nice. I'm really enjoying the gear ratios on it. Actually, like, you know, like third, just a nice, just a nice fifth, sixth. I'd say it's a very Porsche, you know, like gear ratio. It's very good. The ride is soft. I wouldn't be pushing this car too hard down the country lanes because you can feel the weight of the engine. There's no denying you can feel the weight of the engine. It's a big old lump, but it'll serve you well when you're cruising down the motorway, when you just want to get from point A to point B. It's a good car to cover ground in quickly. Everything still feels quality in this car. And I think, again, we're in that time now, aren't we, where we're kind of looking backwards, not forwards. What do I want to spend my time commuting to and from work in? Would I rather spend 30 grand on a modern hot hatch? Well, you wouldn't even get a real hot hatch for that, you'd probably get a warm hatch for that, but would I rather have something with a big V6 engine in it for 11.5 grand and probably be safe putting 11.5 grand into that engine, and that car, I should say? I probably would. I'd probably just run that car and just maintain it and love it, and I'd be perfectly comfortable and happy in this. So I think if you're thinking of running a Mark, you know, if you're watching this thinking, should I buy a Mark IV Golf R32? Is it worth the money? I think it is. It feels expensive, and if you look after it, it'll look after you. Again, just like I've gone around that left-hander there, it does want to push wide, so if you're looking for track days and B-road bashing, this isn't the car for you. But if you just want a nice car just to live with every day and just get in, and maybe you can upgrade the stereo system, maybe you can, you know, you can listen to a podcast, you can sit in traffic, you can do long distance in this, and you'd be so happy, and you'd be really pleased that you bought it because you get to listen to that engine every day. I have to say, I'm really impressed. It's not the revviest thing. I think you'd probably want to stick a back box on it just to bring some of that rasp out of the engine, because I know it's got a real nice rasp. It certainly sounds better probably outside than it does from in here. But yeah, guys, you know, if you're looking at this car, you probably already like Volkswagens, you probably already like the Golf scene. If you're going to dip your toe into that, like I'm not thinking of buying a Mark IV Golf R32, but if I was, and I was new to it, I mean, my eyes are open. It feels exactly what you'd expect a car like this to feel like 20 years later. German engineering personified in the R34 Mark IV Golf. So appreciate you watching. If you've got this far, thanks for sticking with me. I know the videos are slightly longer, but I like to do longer videos and hopefully they're better. So yeah, massive thanks to Fisher Performance Cars again for the loan of the car, and they've got this car for sale on their website. It's 11,990, and yeah, it's 136,000 kilometres. It drives really well. So that's about 80,000 miles. It drives really well. If you think 80,000 miles over 20 years, that's like 4,000 miles a year average. So yeah, I think you'd be fine to put your money into this car. And yeah, so guys, if you're enjoying it, if you've done a similar kind of thing where you've gone backwards and you've thought, you know what, I'm going to spend 11 grand on a modern classic to just run around in, rather than spend 30 or 40 grand on something that you get, I mean, you get most of the experience in this than you would on a 30-40 grand car. If you've done the same thing and you've gone backwards, you've started to look at driving modern classics around, let us know in the comments. What do you drive? What would you like to see from the channel? What would you like to see me have a go in next? Is there anything that you would compare this to? Maybe I could even do a group test one day where I've got a Civic Type R and a Megane together with this car. Who knows? But yeah, thanks again guys for watching, really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, all the rest of it, and any feedback appreciated. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching, cheers.